يا كتاب الله حبا يأسر القلب أحبك يا هدى روحي ونورا يرسم الدرب.
Another sign of the end of times is excessive trades, excessive business. The Prophet ﷺ says, إن بين يدي الساعة تسليم الخاصة وفشو التجارة حتى تعين المرأة زوجها على التجارة. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said the hour, or ahead of the hour, is that there will be a lot of trades, and work will be to the point that a woman will help her husband in working. Again, this is one of those signs that isn't a sign that we don't like. Businesses are everywhere. But does this mean that it's a bad sign? No. This does not mean that many businesses will be a bad thing. And it doesn't mean that if a woman is to help her husband out in business, that it's a bad thing. As long as they're working according to the Sharia, so it's mubah. You can do it or you cannot do it. Yani it won't be a big deal whether you work or you don't work. But when this happens, this is a sign that the final hour is close. And again, we see this all over. Married couples go into businesses together. Honey businesses, hijab businesses, coffee shop businesses, whatever it is. And you see this everywhere. And again, this does not necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. This would be a bad thing if they don't need money and she leaves her kids at home being taken care of by a stranger, or there's like things like that. There's like, cheating in business or manipulation in business and things like that, right? And it would be a means that you fall short in your deen and not fulfill your wajibat, and you fall into haram and forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and forget about your akhirah. This is what should never be. This could mean that the business that you working are, or the businesses that you're working in together, you got into it to be a means of punishment on the Day of Judgment. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Wallahi, it's not poverty that I'm afraid for you. I'm afraid that the dunya is given to you like it was given to those before you, so you end up competing for it like they competed for it. And you destroy yourselves like it destroyed them. The Prophet ﷺ didn't fear poverty for us. He feared dunya for us. He feared wealth for us. Because everyone is humble until they have a few dollars in their pocket. And once they have a few dollars, very few people are actually, they remain humble with it. Other people, they just show you their true colors. Again, we see this a lot. Right? A lot of people, they say, oh, of course, if I was rich, right? They look at people like, a rich person or something like that. They look at Bezos or Mabaraf Ish, right? And they say, oh, look at this guy, all this money he has, and blah, blah, blah. And they don't even know what this guy is doing behind closed doors. Allahu alam what he's doing. Now, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. But then they say things like, of course, if I was rich, I would be very generous and stuff like that. Who told you that? Who told you that? The point that I'm trying to make is that there's not a lot of generous rich people out there, right? So this is what the Prophet ﷺ warned us about. Another sign of the end of times is kathratu zalazil. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَبَيْنَ يَدَيِ السَّاعَةِ سَنَوَاتُ الزَّلَازِلِ. The final hour won't happen until there's going to be lots of earthquakes. And this is narrated by Bukhari in his Sahih. And in another hadith, ahead of the hour is immense death, and after that will be the years of many earthquakes. The years of many earthquakes. And again, we see this a lot. Just this year, in 2025, when this video is being recorded, more than 12 major earthquakes have happened, and we're not even in October yet. 12 huge earthquakes have happened. In 2021, there was 2,212 earthquakes with a magnitude of more than 5 on the Richter scale. In 2020, 1,435 earthquakes. In 2019, 1,629 earthquakes. In 2018, 1,805 earthquakes. Within the last 50 years, we didn't hear much about any earthquakes at all, for that matter, happening in the world. But today, This is something that is very, very common. But within the last 20 years, the earthquakes have gotten so much and so violent that they're literally one after the other. Just recently in Turkey, just last month, there were 2 major earthquakes, right? In Syria, not long ago, there was a major earthquake that happened, right? Like, there's a lot. So the prominence of earthquakes is a sign of the nearness of the final hour. Another sign of the end of times, من علامات الساعة الصغرى ذهاب الصالحين. The Prophet ﷺ said that there's not going to be no more good people on earth. He says ﷺ, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يأخذ الله شريطته من أهل الأرض فيبقى فيها عجاجة لا يعرفون معروفا ولا ينكرون منكرا. The final hour won't happen until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes back the good people of earth. And this means the people of piety and true religion. And none will remain on earth except for the ujaja, which means those that are pathetic and no good people. They won't know any good and they won't reject any evil either. And this, of course, we see a lot of in our times today. Try to explain piety to this person, he won't recognize. He'll end up laughing at you. Try to explain logic to him, he'll not understand you. And you can also see this when it comes to the scholars of our times today. The scholars are very few, and we'll get to that in a moment, inshallah. But the amount of scholars and fuqaha in our time today are very few. The well-known ones, you can literally count them on your fingers, and they're getting older and older, and they remain on the manhaj of the Salaf al-Salih. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them for their efforts and their khair of guiding the ummah. Likewise, from the signs of the end of times is irtifa' al-asafil. So we see that when good people are gone, what ends up happening? When the good people are gone, then the lowly and the pathetic people will be elevated and praised. The low and pathetic people are elevated and praised. And we see these people all over. It's really not difficult. People like Jake Paul, people like Kim Kardashian, people like Kanye West. Not only that, these are just celebrities. I don't even know why people celebrate them. But you see all over the internet today. You see so many people, they do the stupidest and the dumbest things. And they act like absolute fools, complete idiots, just to get a little bit of attention online. It's like, you don't have any respect for yourself. You don't have any respect for yourself. You're doing the dumbest things so that people could look at you and laugh at you. And what ends up happening, these people that are following these things, these people that are watching these things, they themselves are, a lot of times they don't have much going on up here. So they follow these pathetic and dumb people. They give these dumb people attention. These dumb people get hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of followers. And what ends up happening? The pathetic people have now become the higher ups. They become celebrated. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ predicted. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says, سَيَأْتِ عَلَى النَّاسِ سَنَوَاتٌ خَدَّاعَاتٌ يُصَدَّقُ فِيهَا الْكَاذِبُ وَيُكَذَّبُ فِيهَا الْأَمِينُ. Or as-sadiq in another hadith. وَيُؤْتَمِنُ فِيهَا الْخَائِنُ وَيُخَوَّنُ فِيهَا الْأَمِينُ وَيَنْطِقُ فِيهَا الرُّوَيْبِضَةُ قيل وما الرويبضة يا رسول الله قال الرجل التافه يتكلم في أمر العامة أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said that there will come a time upon people that it is a deceptive time. An honest person will be deemed dishonest. A dishonest person will be deemed honest. And they will speak in the general people's public as though it's in the public's interest. Shuf, subhanallah, complete opposite. And this is the worst of things. Is the people, if people's understanding is perverted, then what ends up happening? Their whole aqidah is perverted. And of course, this is happening in our times today. People are praising savagery. Like things like zina. People are praising zina today. And if you don't do zina, then you're the one that's with the disease, because who doesn't want zina? Astaghfirullah al-Azim. And the sunnah became a bid'ah. And the bid'ah became a sunnah. Like people are getting married for culture now, and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is like a secondary thing that many people don't even consider most of the time. Culture says, marry from your own tribe. Religion says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The best of you with Allah is the most pious. Culture says the mahr has to be high and he has to give lots of gold. The guy has to pay for the wedding, but the woman has to furnish the house. Islam says the most blessed of them are the ones with the least mahr. And even get the slaves married. Shirk became tawheed, and tawheed became shirk. Like if you see Muslims celebrating Christmas, which is obviously shirk, they say we have to love and respect and praise these mushrikeen who say that God has taken a son. And if you say we can't say Merry Christmas ya akhi, they say you're not Muslim because you don't respect non-Muslims. Seriously? Seriously? This is how far shaitan's gotten you? People that say hijab is a backwards concept and being exposed and naked is progress. Deen is extreme and jahiliyyah is forward thinking now. All of this is what? All of this is just what I cited to you. It is a perversion of understanding. And you see these pathetic people going out on TV, going out on live podcasts, whatever they call it, making videos, going out on these TED Talks. They have been corrupted in how they think, and now because they're corrupted in thinking, they're also corrupting others and how they're supposed to think as well. This is obviously in today's time. Wallahi, thumma wallahi, it hurts me to say. Sometimes you hear a person speak and you're like, how does this person even have a birth certificate? Like I don't even understand. Who gave you a mouth? Who gave you a microphone to put in your mouth? وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Another sign of the end of times is that people will only say salam to you if they know you. Yani if they don't know you, they will not say salam to you. And this is from the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, إِنَّ مِنْ أَعْلَامِ السَّاعَةِ وَأَسْرَاطِهَا أَنْ يُسَلِّمُ الرَّجُلُ عَلَى الرَّجُلِ لَا يُسَلِّمُ عَلَيْهِ إِلَّا لِلْمَعْرِفَةِ or إِلَّا لِمَعْرِفَةِ. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. From the signs of the end of times, or from the signs of the hour, he says, min ashrati sa'a, from the signs of the hour is that a man will greet another, but he will only do so if he knew him. And this is something very painful to see, honestly. I can't even count how many times I'd be in the masjid and I'd try to say salam to a brother and they would pretend like they don't even know me. Or I'd be talking to a brother maybe, or even a few brothers or something like that at the masjid, and someone interjects just to say salam to his buddy that I'm talking to, and he ignores me and he completely takes off. Or he says salam to me and he completely ignores whoever it is I was talking to. Wallahi, it happens so often. And this hadith came out in a way to criticize and condemn anyone that does this. Why is that? Because you not saying salam to anyone, but the one you know, is negating the hadith and the verses of the Quran that tell you that you have to spread salams amongst one another. The Prophet ﷺ says, you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. Should I tell you about doing something you will love one another by? He says, أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Spread salam amongst yourselves. Another sign of the end of times is the truth of the vision of the believer. The truth of the vision of the believer. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, إِذَا اقْتَرَبَ الزَّمَانُ لَمْ تَكَدْ رُؤْيَ الْمُؤْمِنُ تَكْذِبُ وَرُؤْيَ الْمُؤْمِنُ جُزْءٌ من 46 جُزْءًا من النبوة أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says when the time is close to ending, when human civilization is close to ending, the vision of a believer will not be a lie. رؤيا المؤمن. Subhanallah. The vision of a believer will not be a lie. And the vision of a believer is 1/40th of prophecy. And what is meant here is that this is all meant that the vision that a true believer sees is a vision that does not need to be translated. Like a believer will see in his dream, he knows what is from his own self, like his own self-conscious or his subconscious. He knows what is from shaitan, and he knows what is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's very clear to the believer. It doesn't need any translation, and it would happen just as he saw it happen in his dream. So that's another sign of the end of times. We'll end it here inshallah. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam wa barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.